in the squadron. They called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
All right. We are back. And you know what? Few people have seen more January 6th footage than I have. I mean, defense lawyers, certainly. Nasty government prosecutors, probably. Although I bet I've seen more of this than they have, because there's some footage that they probably willfully ignored because it incriminates the government so badly. And as they persecuted and prosecuted patriots, that would have complicated their lives quite a bit. And, you know, there's still this nasty thing of code of ethics that lawyers are supposed to abide by and turn over evidence to the defense and all that kind of stuff that I feel was not practiced in the persecution and prosecution of the January 6th patriots. So I've seen a lot of stuff, a lot of suspicious stuff, a lot of corrupt stuff, a lot of, you know, the cops letting people inside, the cops beating up, totally beating up people. And, of course, the Ashley Babbitt getting murdered, right? You see that. Now, some people have never seen that. Members of Congress have never seen that. I don't think Bill Cassidy, Republican of Louisiana, Republicans have never seen some of this footage. They're too in love. Part of it is the more they play up January 6th, it's like, you see, I was a victim. Oh, my gosh, yeah, I almost lost my life that day. It's bragging rights. Bragging rights for these members of Congress. And speaking of rights, I still can't get over this birthright citizenship thing. Oh, to the guy about Ted Cruz, yeah, this thing was litigated kind of a long time ago. I don't mean litigated, but, you know, litigated in the talk show sense, not in court. But his mother was a citizen of the United States, okay? So when he was born, yes, because he was born on Canadian soil, he was a Canadian citizen, and due to his mother's status as a legal citizen of the United States, doesn't matter if she was born here or not, she was a legal citizen and had been here for the required duration of time. Didn't matter where she was. She could have been in Russia. She could have been on the North Pole, the South Pole. Ted Cruz is an American citizen, period. And he can run for president and do anything. And, yeah, there will always be some blog. You know, there will always be some murmuring, but there's always murmuring about everything. And I am totally confident. Now, I don't necessarily want Ted Cruz to be president. I think he's a brilliant guy. There's, unfortunately for Ted, he's a little bit, I don't know. There's something about Ted. He's just not that you have to be likable, but there's something. I believe he's sincere, but too often he comes off as insincere. And that's his problem. A small problem, really. I mean, because he is sincere. Shouldn't be a big thing. Unfortunately, optics, whatever. I've never doubted that President Trump feels the way he does. Ted Cruz, that thought enters your mind. Although he is very talented. Yeah, it doesn't really. Yeah, I think he's great, but I don't think he's not going to eclipse J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio. Then again, anything could happen in politics. And I'll never forget Mike Bloomberg when he ran for mayor in 2001. They brought me, I was at a parade in Queens. I was a reporter, and it was a Memorial Day, and the word was that the politicians, were going to be there, including maybe Mike Bloomberg. And I get there early, and I go to a Wendy's, and I'm waiting for this thing to start. And a guy named Ed Schuyler came over to me, tall dude, who worked for Mike Bloomberg, and said, "Hey, would you like to meet Mike Bloomberg?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've never met him before, sure." And I'm waiting for them to bring him over, and I realize I don't even know what this guy looks like. I've heard about him, but I heard about him a little bit. He wasn't politically famous in the business world. I never met the guy. And 4 or 5 months later, he becomes the mayor. Now, that wasn't supposed to happen. All of the experts knew he couldn't win. He couldn't win. Mark Green, Republican, it's not going to happen. Anything can happen in politics. In May of 2001, Rudy Giuliani was a kind of a banged up, kind of a has-been politician. He was finished, over. 9/11 happened. Rudy rose to the moment, showed incredible, exquisite leadership. Everybody fell in love with him. His word was gold. Time Magazine Person of the Year. He endorsed Mike Bloomberg and made it count, right? And and that endorsement got Bloomberg over the top. So anything can happen. Ted Cruz, they're supposed to win, right? Okay, well, let's see what happens. Something's going to happen. That's what that phrase means. Let's see what happens. Something's going to happen. And it could be that something's going to happen that Ted Cruz gets fewer votes. A lot of people think that Ted Cruz would be great on the Supreme Court. I don't think he'd like to go to the Supreme Court. He doesn't want to be one of 9. He can't stand being one of 100. One of a 9 is a little bit better, but he has things to say and he wants to say them. And too often you can't when you're in the Supreme Court. All right. A couple of other little things. Have you heard about this? The birthright citizenship has me, I'm upset. But as Alan Dershowitz said, the court erred in making this going as far as they did because this was just about an executive order. They treated it like it was bigger than it actually was. Now it falls to the Congress. I don't have faith in the Congress. I do see the 14th Amendment for what it is, and it was about slavery and making sure the slaves were citizens, had nothing to do about the current environment we're in right now. And Dershowitz just called it the stupidest wording in all of that Constitution. We've lived with it for a long time, but as Samuel Alito says, right now something really, really bad can happen. And it looks to me like the Chinese have been exploiting this. I was not aware, but the Chinese have been exploiting this little thing for a long time, playing a little game with our stupid generosity and blindness. Tom Kean, down in the dumps congressman from New Jersey. He disappeared in March. He said he had a medical situation. I figured it was something related to his blood. I figured it was something related to his body. Turns out it's something related to his brain, okay? He was down in the dumps, depressed. I know people get depressed. I know mental illness is a real thing. But come on. 57 years old, Republican congressman. You're a career politician, by the way. His dad is the former governor. He was in the state house before being in Congress, and disappears for 3 months in a midterm, in an election year. Midterms, hello. His seat, he's vulnerable. He's more vulnerable now because of his little absence. And I don't think the reason for his absence was sufficient. All right. Nobody knew. He kept it under wraps. Why the hell is this guy not here? Finally, he told the world he was sad. Worse than sad, he was depressed. But everybody gets depressed, man. All right, are you ready? Tom Kean, please, on the floor of the House of Representatives this morning.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today with deep gratitude for the patience, the kindness, the prayers, and the concern that have been shown to me and my family over the course of the last several months. This is not an easy speech for me to give. I am a private person by nature, and I have spent most of my life talking about the people that I represent, the issues facing our communities, and the work that continues to be done. Talking about myself has never come naturally. But I believe that I owe an explanation to the people of New Jersey's 7th District, to my colleagues in this chamber, and to the American people for my absence. Several months ago, due to health concerns, I entered the hospital for some testing. I did not believe that this would result in a long-term stay. I was given the diagnosis of depression. Now, when people hear the word depression, many people simply feel it means feeling sad. But depression is so much more than that. It is physical. It is emotional. And until you experience it yourself, it is difficult to fully understand how powerful this illness can be. The doctors recommended that I remain in the hospital to address my illness. They explained to me that this would be the fastest way to recovery. And to be honest, I was hesitant. I didn't think that I had time for it. I had responsibilities to my family. I had responsibilities to my constituents. I had responsibilities to this institution. And like many people, I believed that I could simply push through. But I agreed to follow my doctor's recommendations. Again, not believing that it would result in a long-term stay.
All right, stop for a second. This is where you get a second opinion. Marcus Welby. What other doctor shows do we have? ER. I missed ER. I saw more Marcus Welby, which was made before I was born, than I did ER. I don't know why. I was busy in the 90s. I had no time for TV. I missed every TV show in the 90s, including Seinfeld. He's putting it too much on the doctor. Where is the doctor? I don't know. But it is interesting. See, he's got a lot of what people kind of want, right? I don't know what his financial thing is. I think he kind of comes from old money, but maybe not. His dad was the governor. Yeah, he's a congressman. He's got status. He's got power, pedigree. He went to Princeton, I believe, Princeton University. A lot of people think if I had all that stuff, I'd be happy. If I could only win a seat in politics, I'll be happy. No. I once heard, and there's no way to happiness. You got to be happy. Like, happiness is the way. Nothing external to you. There's something to that, but not. I don't know if I'm buying this. I think he should have pushed through, or resign. I don't know. Keep going. Let me see.
Understand not only my diagnosis, but how long depression had been affecting my life. When I first informed the public that I was dealing with a medical issue, I was still trying to understand what was happening myself. When I said I hoped to return in a matter of weeks, I believed it. Those were the best estimates the doctors could provide. But as the over 48 million of my fellow Americans being treated for this illness have come to discover, there is no timeline for healing. There is no timeline for recovery. Only the work of getting better, one day at a time. Today, I am grateful that I listened to my doctors, and I'm grateful for the exceptional care that I received from doctors, nurses, and support staff.
Stop. I mean, what the hell was going on? Was he seeing things? Was he hallucinating? That's the only reason why he should be in a hospital, for crying out loud. If it's mental. I've been depressed. I didn't have any nurses. I didn't have support staff. Everybody gets down in the dumps. I don't know, man. I don't know. And I don't think this is a positive message. He thinks that he's inspiring people to get help. I'm done with that, we're taking the stigma out of whatever it is. Addiction, mental illness, addiction to drugs, addiction to sex. There actually should be a little bit of stigma on some things, I think. Maybe just a little. Keep it up.
That I accepted help. Because today I stand before you healthier, stronger, and excited to return to the work that I love. And I've always been a supporter of mental health care. During my time in the New Jersey legislature, I worked to advance mental health parity. I believed in the cause then, and I understand it in a far more personal way now. This experience has given me a deeper appreciation for the millions of Americans who face these challenges each and every day. Many do so quietly. Many do so alone. Many do so while carrying burdens that the rest of us never see. And to them, I would say, asking for help is not a weakness. It is a strength. To my constituents, thank you. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your understanding. Thank you for your prayers. And thank you for allowing me the honor of serving you. I also want to thank my staff who worked tirelessly to ensure that our office continued serving constituents every day during my absence. And most importantly, I want to thank my family, whose love, whose support, and whose faith carried me through some very difficult days. This is not a partisan issue. It touches every community every family in every corner of this country. If sharing my story encourages even one person to seek help, if it gives one family the courage to have a difficult conversation, or if it reminds one person that recovery is possible, then this moment will have been worthwhile. I am grateful to be back with the full support of my doctors.
All right. I'm glad he's back too. Possibly he took this a little bit too seriously, right? Whatever was getting him down. I know what, look, 20 years ago he ran for the U.S. Senate. 20 years ago, and he's still in Congress. Maybe it's just a career hang-up. Everybody has a career hang-up or two along the way. I hope, actually, he doesn't inspire anybody to go to the hospital for 3 months. You know what I mean? I'd love to. It sounds beautiful. Just 3 months to take off and just, I don't know, talk it out. I always hear about these guys going to rehab. Oh, that sounds lovely. You know, I'm not going. I don't need to go. Thank God I don't drink anymore. At one point, maybe I would have benefited. Anyway, Tom Kane Jr., I'm glad you're back. But you really want to make your life easier. Forget the doctors. No, don't forget them. Get yourself into the Bible, all right? Maybe you already are. Maybe you know more about the Bible than I do. I'm still on my journey. But I guarantee you it will be better with God than without him. Be right back.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
There's this girl named Sophia Petrovich. I met her last night. She was a very good reporter at the local level. She's probably, 30 years old, 29, something like that. And she is walking away from the fake news, although she doesn't consider it fake. She worked at the local level, and the locals, generally speaking, play it pretty straight. They're not hung up with bias and anti-Trump derangement syndrome and all that stuff. But she's walking away in totally good standing to pursue a life of ministry, the Bible. Says she fell in love with the Bible about a year ago, and now she just wants to praise him and talk about him, and quite a leap. And, she didn't say, oh, the media stinks. I say that, but, she left on good terms. Beautiful move, Sophia Petrovich.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Just think 250 years on, what the founders would see if they visited us today. But wait, they would see that slavery had been abolished. They would see that Americans without land, and then women's, and then the descendants of slaves had secured voting rights. They would see that our science and discovery propelled human knowledge to unimaginable heights, and that those 13 colonies had grown into a superpower that defeated the Nazis and communism.
Stop for a second. Sounds reasonable, right? He's about to get weird and woke. This is Democrat Jon Ossoff, senator from Georgia. And they're saying this guy is the unsung hero of the Democrats, is going to emerge as a top contender in 2028. He is the most sickening, phony guy I've ever seen. And they think his delivery is great. I can see right through it. It's not convincing to me at all. Keep going.
A pluralist democracy, people of all colors descended from every point on earth, stitched together out of many nations into one.
All right, but what's wrong? Some zap is going to go somewhere.
But they'd also see a nation that at the height of its wealth and power fell into the very traps they most feared.
Oh, yeah.
Devouring itself in bitter conflict between warring factions captured by special interests.
Oh, you're such a unifier.
And they'd see a faithless president exploiting this rot to pursue the absolute power they overthrew.
You
a president
SOB.
who's embarked on this unmistakable project not to lead us, but to rule us.
Stop. To save this country, you moron. This guy doesn't believe anything. He doesn't believe a damn thing. Ossoff, I can tell You know, this is the guy who says there should be no borders and your children should be sexualized by drag queens in schools. Anybody who works against that is not the things you say. And President Trump is a hero. There's another little up-and-comer that I want to point out on the good side. His name is Brandon Gill, Republican of Texas. Kind of looks like Superman. He may not be as polished, although he's pretty good. He's more authentic. If you don't mind, Carlos, please.
We are so back, aren't we? And you know what that means? That means that we are finally going to take our country back, aren't we? That means that we are sending a fighter from Texas to Washington, somebody who's going to stand up for our values, aren't we?
All right, stop. You got a genuine person, and then you got a phony person. Ossoff versus Gill, and the contrast is amazing. Now, wait a second. I got to put a break on all the politics because we're about to get biblical, and it's really amazing. I met this person last night. We made a couple of videos. Her name is Sophia Petrovich. She is taking a big step away from television news. She's been doing great there for 6 years. She's on the verge of going to Good Morning America, the Today Show. She's walking away from it all to pursue the Bible and maybe a life in ministry. Sophia, you got the whole country talking. Welcome. How are you?
Hey, it's so good to speak with you again. I had so much fun on your show last night. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm fine. And yeah, people were impressed. And quite frankly, so was I. Forgive me, but sometimes when I hear about a move like this, the person, how do I put this? I don't know. Look, I love Christ. I love the Bible. I don't necessarily like Christian rock, if you know what I mean. You seem to be you seem to be from, like, I think you can relate to real people. I think you can relate to people who possibly aren't, far along in their faith journey. And this is all good. I found you far more relatable than I thought I was going to. Forgive me if that doesn't make sense. Does it?
No, it does. And praise God for that. That's so refreshing to hear because, I mean, look, the Christian world has so many amazing pastors out there and religious figures, but I really am. I mean, I'm just a 28-year-old girl from Charleston, South Carolina, and yeah, I worked in the news, but I'm really no different than the average Joe out there. And, I think Christianity, it can get religious at times, but I mean, really the truth of it is it's just a relationship with Jesus. And that's what has captivated me. And that's why I just feel so passionate to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with people because he changed my life. He's changed so many other people's lives that are surrounding me. And at the end of the day, it really is just a relationship that he wants to have with us. He pursues us. And then our choice is to say yes to him. And so, that message, that's what I want to spread. And like we talked about last night, the Lord had me in news for 6 years, which is not a waste. I mean, the news is so cool. It's a really rewarding job. You get to meet so many cool people and tell people's stories. But again, the gospel of Jesus Christ, that's the best story ever. It's a love story, the best love story ever. So that's my mission.
I guess part of what impressed me, like you just said, hey, it was 6 years. They weren't wasted, good years, and you spoke highly of your colleagues. There's a trend right now in TV and elsewhere, other professions, to like make a TikTok video, take this job and shove it. I'm out of here. And, leave with a bang and in a negative way, but to personally profit from it. You didn't do that, and that also got my attention. This is all a good experience. Now, having said that, there are ups and downs in the media. Like, why? Was there anything about it you didn't like? Anything about it that wasn't fulfilling?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. There are really hard days in the news. I'm not going to lie. I mean, there's stories that I've covered that are tough. Back in Charleston, I covered the Murdaugh trials, which I know a lot of people are familiar with that. That is a tough story. And plenty of others, murders and car crashes where people are dying. It's hard. I feel like nothing about the news really steered me away. I still love the news, and I'll still watch the news. But this story, the story of the gospel, is the most important story I could ever tell. And so, yeah, you have stories that, you tell in your community that change the tides in a community. I mean, I thought there's this one story I did in Charleston where this man lost his basket weaving stand after a hit and run accident, and then the story got out there, and people started to go fund me for him, he ended up, we raised like $20,000 for this man, and it really changed the trajectory of his life. And those stories are they're so beautiful, right? But the best story, again, is just the gospel. And yeah, I don't know. God taught me so much in the news that I will use in this next step. But yeah, we talked a little bit last night about kind of the limitations. You asked me a great question about, limitations in a newsroom. And there were so many chances I had for my colleagues, invite them to church. On the way to a story, we would talk about the Lord. But then we have a deadline, right? Like it hits 1 o'clock, and I gotta turn my stories over. And so it felt maybe a little bit limiting of what I was really passionate about, which is just the gospel. And so taking this next step, I'm just fully focusing my attention on ministry, whatever God does, whatever doors he opens, that's what I'm going to follow. And so, yeah, it's going to be a journey, but I'm really excited.
Let me ask you something. I understand you were a Christian, basically your whole life as a kid and everything. And a lot of people identify as Christian, but something like either clicked more recently in your life. How did that happen?
Yeah.
What happened? And when did it happen?
Reading the Bible every single day. There wasn't like this moment where I was like, okay, I'm going into ministry. Like forget the news. I'm going to ministry. There really wasn't that like aha moment for me. It really was. I just picked up the Bible one day. I mean, I've been a Christian since age 11. I got saved at a Christian concert in Miami, Florida, and have been a Christian ever since. But I haven't picked up the Bible like I have probably in my entire life. But about a year ago, I just started reading, literally from Genesis, and kept going. I just finished the Old Testament a couple days ago. And just being in the Word every single day and immersing myself in the story of Christ, it just sparked this fire in me that I want everyone to have that experience. I think there's a lot of great preaching out there, but there's a lot of times where I believe, pastors can get away from even opening the Bible on a Sunday morning. And that's what we need to get back to. What does the Word of God say? What is the historical context? What is Jewish culture? What is the full picture of Jesus? Why did he come to earth? And that's a curiosity that I feel like I'm kind of basing my ministry off of, is, truly bringing people into the full story of Jesus Christ, because that's what we're missing. We don't need any more topical sermons, how to do this, whatever. We need to learn the Bible. So that's kind of my mission.
Well, that's beautiful. Very beautiful. I had a similar experience when I started reading the Bible consistently.
Yeah.
It was about 10 years ago. So, and in my life, miracles started to happen. May I make one observation? my experience, not my experience, an observation. Sunday. You know, that's the time. That's the time we see the preachers on TV. That's the day to go to church. And you already know this, but too often during Monday through Saturday, it's all but ignored.
Yeah.
And it's but once you kind of catch on to this, it's obviously 24/7. Look, what would you say to anybody out there who has walked away from the faith or has never opened up a Bible and you know, and actually sees some of the bad things that happen? Like, and actually, let me ask you that. You mentioned the Murdochs. I personally think that guy's innocent, but that's another story. I like, but you know, let's face it. Murders happen. Babies die of cancer. Plane crashes, floods, tornadoes. Horrible things happen all the time. And for a lot of people, that's very hard to, you know, how can there be a God? I have my own answer, but what is your answer?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good question. Nothing catches Jesus by surprise. None of these things that are happening in our world, and there are so many hard things that happen in the world. I mean, I've seen them firsthand covering these stories. But God is not caught off guard by this. And yes, there is evil in the world, and that's the result of the fall. When back in Genesis, the garden, when Adam and Eve, you know, ate the forbidden fruit, I mean, humankind was doomed ever since that moment. But that's exactly why Jesus came, is to save us and to give us hope. I don't think there is any shying away from hard things in life. I think we as Americans need to cling to our Savior, who, again, nothing catches him by surprise, but he is our hope. He is our hope in salvation, in the world, all of this. And so for anyone out there who is just wondering about Jesus and questioning things and maybe has a curiosity, just pick up your Bible. Literally start in the Gospels. Just start in Matthew and go from there and just see what God does. He is so powerful, and there's story after story after story in the Bible where he's turned heart of stones into apostles. And so nothing is impossible with Christ. He is faithful. I mean, literally yesterday, before I got on TV with you, I was just walking around my neighborhood praying that God would just be with me, give me the words. And I kid you not, I look up and there's a rainbow right over my house. And I'm like, Lord, you're just so funny. I mean, he's so faithful time after time after time. And I think so many Christians have that testimony. You know, if something bad happens, they've run from Christ, but God always finds a way to bring you back. And yeah, I'm just so passionate about the Bible, and I just wish anyone out there who is curious, just pick it up. Just pick up the Bible, start in the Gospels, and watch the Lord work in your life and speak to you. Allow him the space to speak to you. You were so busy these days. Like I find myself just doom scrolling all the time, like filling my mind with unnecessary space. If we just sit still for a moment and ask the Lord to speak to us, he will. He absolutely will.
Well, thank you, Sophia Petrovich. I know you got your husband's full support in this endeavor, and that's beautiful. And hey, one quick thing before we go. For me, when I picked up the Bible initially over the years, often in a hotel room, you know, I was like, oh boy, I don't understand this. I don't understand that. Somebody gave me a Bible like 5 years before I started reading it, and I was resentful. I said, what made you such a church lady? And I put it on a shelf. I never started reading it until 2016, and then it was special, not a special, I shouldn't say special, but it had little footnotes. It was a Charles Stanley Life Principles Bible. He had little essays and little explainers that helped me a lot. Do you recommend something along those lines? Because just to like a study Bible or something like that, because it can be daunting for somebody, solo. Then again, we don't have to go this alone. We go to church, but I feel like that might help people. Do you agree?
Totally. Oh, totally. And yes, the Bible can be very intimidating. And there's a lot of language in there that new Christians, it is hard to understand. There's so many study Bibles out there that are such great resources. I personally read the New Living Translation. I find it a lot more digestible for me. The language is not as big, and it's not like the King James Version. It's just very digestible. But there is this, there's a Bible recap book. I think it literally is called Bible Recap, and I can't remember the name.
We'll find it out. Bible Recap. And Sophia, forgive me. Broadcasting calls. I got to go to a commercial break. But
Okay.
Sophia Petrovich, she's on social media. She's on literally a mission from God, and it's amazing. We thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, to be continued, and we will be right back.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
All right, in for the home stretch. The phone lines are open, and Andy from Michigan. I think this is Andy from Michigan. Hello?
Oh, hi, Greg. Awesome show. The birthright citizenship. People have to remember they become citizens, and when they're old enough, they can petition for their whole family to come to America through the Family Unification Act. The biggest problem this country made in the last 30 years is they didn't elect Patrick Buchanan president. We'd still be living in America today, Greg.
I hear you, Andy. Listen, let me ask you something. Sometimes you guys, mentioning Patrick Buchanan is not like a subversion thing. It's, it's okay. I sometimes these guys call up and they just say, go Buchanan, go Buchanan. Like, that's like, oh my God, you're getting away with something. You know what I mean? It's a little bit weird to me. I don't know.
It's not, yeah, but it's not really weird because Pat.
It's a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird because they just sneak it in there at the end. A little bit like you, but not totally. But let's face it, Pat Buchanan may have had some interesting ideas, very interesting ideas. He had no skill in implementing any of that stuff. He was a speechwriter. He was a writer. That's all he ever did was write. Nixon knew he was, had interesting ideas. They weren't all great. But he had no skill at implementing anything. He had never implemented anything. Guy wrote editorials in St. Louis and then letters for congressmen. Speeches for Nixon and then later Reagan. You can't be president on that. You got to go do something. Start a company, become a governor, make $1 billion, Nice ideas. So what? All right, Nate, I'm sorry I didn't get back to you. You've been calling a lot. We'll get back to you tomorrow. All the best, everybody. Go.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?